why these men out here thinking that they husband material. All of them? It can't be all of y'all. All of y'all, though? Like, seriously, that's like women saying that all women are queens. I know how much men do not like when women be like, all of us are queens. Well, let me just let you know, fellas, that women do not like the fact that all of you think that you are husband material and you still haven't done anything about your discipline as far as lust goes, your self-control. You guys have done nothing about that. In these committed relationships, cheating, you don't adjust your behavior in those relationships and then turn around and expect somebody to want to marry you, and you end up cheating on these women once you are married to them, and they just supposed to sit there in silence and deal with your cheating because that proves how much they love you. Crap. Y'all really, fellas? First, let me welcome you to my side of the internet. My name is Soncerae Monique. I'm a life coach for both men and women. I have a 50-50 audience, and I try to play fair with both genders. I want everyone to unify and produce loving unions. There is no gender war here. I promote positive perspectives and healthy debates, so be careful what you put inside my comment section because YouTube has no problem with deleting your entire comment or putting you under the held for review tab. And once you get under the held for review tab, you then have to go through my filter. And let me tell you something, I'm asinine with my filter. Like, a lot of people comment don't make the cut if you come up in my filter. Okay? Because I got a blacklist of words. Come up in there being ignorant. Come up in there being ignorant. Delete, block, delete. Please take responsibility for what you post on the internet and refrain from entertaining anonymous trolling. Okay, so I did this poll about Future, and I was talking about whether or not he was husband material, because I saw an interview he did where a fan asked him, did he want to have more children? And this man said,
"Hi, Future. Do you want more kids?"
Yes. By my wife. If I ever get married, I want to have kids by my wife, of course. It could be like 3, because I never had more than one kid by a girl. So it's like, if I had 2 by her, then it's like more than I had. So I feel like it was more special.
And I was like, is this man serious? The man who has 8 baby mamas. And so when I posted this on my Facebook page, in come the men who are defending him and tried to tell me that marriage material is subjective. Meanwhile, there was a man who always gets on Facebook all of the time, who's been a friend of mine for many, many years. He's always talking about how he's looking for a wife. And he's been saying this since he was released from prison. When he was in prison, he would log on to Facebook and I would talk to him every day, trying to get him to, get through his sentence. Okay, so once he was released, he started talking about how he wanted to find a wife, and it almost seems like he picked up where he left off, because the same things that he was doing that got him in prison to begin with was the same things that he was doing once he got out. And before he went to prison, he was terrible to women. And not me, because I never dated him. I always saw him as someone who was a playboy. I always saw him as someone who was running through women like it wasn't nothing. It would be girls I knew that was dating him that loved him so much, and he would just play them. And I was like, why do you keep doing this to women? So he did all his dirt, went to prison, got all this baggage with him, and now he's walking around Atlanta with all of this money, wearing all of these chains, designer logos all over his body, talking about he's looking for a wife, right? So I come into his comment section when he's on one of his rants, one of his Facebook rants about being a husband material and how he's looking for a wife. And I said, most men aren't even husband material. I think that men should start focusing on being the right man instead of looking for the right woman. Once you become the right man, it's kind of easy to find a right woman after that, because your standards and boundaries are so set, and if you enforce them, you start beginning to have experiences that are high energy. You reduce the amount of low energy experiences you have with women when you set your boundaries, right? So I'm just saying to him, most men are not husband material. And so he claps back and he says, well, I ain't talking about most men. I'm talking about me. So I had to bring his ass down to the middle and say, well, listen, just like you don't think I'm wife material, I think you are not husband material at all. Like the women that I see you post up with you all of the time, the women that you interact with, the women that you post on your Facebook page, and you classify these women as wife material, a lot of times they're strippers, models, Instagram baddies, women out here that aren't even close to being wife material. They're out here focusing on being in the street and being attached to whatever rapper has the most amount of money. Those are not the women that you need to be trying to date if you're truly looking for a good wife. But those are the women that you are attracted to. I say this to him on his page. He gets mad at me. You know what he says to me? He comes in my messenger and he says, it's classic. He said, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to send you a virtual hug because you must be going through something, And I just really want the best for you. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, that's the arrogance and conceit I'm talking about right there. Because you think, simply because I'm telling you that I don't view you as husband material, that I must be going through something terrible in my life. So if I gave you the compliment of saying that you are husband material, then that must mean my life is wonderful, homie. Come on, stop it. You men are weird. The conceit and arrogance. Give me a whole break, bruh. These men can't be serious. You got these enormous labels and chains on, a criminal record, you a whole street pharmacist, you got a bad attitude, and you think that a good woman with her head on straight wants to marry a man like that? When I posted that on Facebook, men came into the comment section, like I said, and was saying that marriage material is subjective. And I was like, don't piss in the wind and tell me it's rain. Because men will flat out reject a woman who has the amount of baby daddies that Future has baby mamas. So let's stop with the BS, because men are not going to accept that same bullshit. If your history shows that you have a lack of self-control, why would you expect someone to want to date you after that? See, it's one thing for you to be promiscuous and you're going around here and you're sleeping around, you're putting on protection and you're having fun with your life, versus creating broken families 8 times over. Hello? But I just want to remind everyone that everything can be viewed in 2 different ways, a negative perspective or a positive perspective. There's no gradient there, okay? You get to choose how you respond to what you are observing or what you experience. If you respond to everything negatively, you will have an unfulfilled life. But if you look at the world from a positive perspective, you will notice that most people aren't trying to purposely harm you, and understanding that not everyone is out to get you improves how you communicate with others. You'll start to cultivate better relationships. So when we're talking about Future and my negative perspective of Future, other women will look at this man and classify him as marriage material. Not factoring in his track record, not factoring in his promiscuity and his lack of self-control before they came around. And honestly, I feel like the type of man you were when you were single says a lot about what kind of person you would be inside of a marriage or a relationship. If you didn't have self-control and discipline long before you decided to commit to someone, you're not going to just suddenly up and have it one day when you decide to get married. So is marriage material subjective? Yes. And that's what I try to explain to men all of the time when they claim that black women aren't wife material, or fat women aren't wife material, or single mothers aren't wife material, or hypergamy hoes aren't wife material, or any promiscuous woman isn't wife material. No, wife material is subjective. It depends upon the person, because we get to choose what we view, and one person's trash is another person's treasure. And what I see a lot of people trying to do is trying to convince the entire world to have their perspective, because then it validates their perspective. So do I care that people think that Future isn't husband material to me? No, because I don't care who fuck with Future. I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not even doing that to myself. But there are women out there who would choose him for various reasons. Maybe because he has money. Maybe because he's famous. Maybe because they like the way that he looks. Maybe he'll treat a woman nice and she'll be the exception to the rule. I doubt it. But that's what women think. To me, not all men are created equal. Not all men are out here behaving the same way. So not all men can be classified as husband material. And it's the same thing with women. To me, not all women are queens. And I think that Black women need to step the game up as far as what we define a good Black woman to be. Because it's not all of us. Because some of us just don't have the best behaviors. We're not on our best behaviors. Some of us are terrible wives, petty girlfriends, and violent mothers. Our community lacks a level of accountability on both genders to some degree. So when we're talking about the Black community, and this isn't about the Black community, this isn't a Black community video. This is just about relationships in general. But inside of the Black community specifically, there is an accountability problem when it comes to men, because anything that a man does that can be considered inappropriate or negative or wrong is somehow deflected and put on the shoulders of a Black woman. To a lot of Black men, it will always be a Black woman's fault for choosing the wrong guy, or a man womanizing and abandoning his children, or something like that. Like, it'll always be considered something that a Black woman could have prevented. But no one is policing the Black man's behavior. So it's leaving women out here to basically just fend for ourselves and protect ourselves. And when we become these independent powerhouses, we begin to become unattractive to a lot of Black men. And that's a whole nother video. If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one coaching session, a FaceTime, or a 45-minute call, you can go to SonceraeMonique.com to make a request. If you need advice or want me to talk about something specific in a video or post, please email me at soncerae@gmail.com. Fellas, I got something special for you. It's called For Gentlemen Only. It's exclusive photos and videos. You can also go to SonceraeMonique.com and click on For Gentlemen Only to get access to that exclusive content, okay? I appreciate you checking out my videos. Have vision and stay focused. Namaste.
You know what I find funny? The only scare tactic men seem to have in their pocket is, we don't want to marry you. As if marriage looks like this. What? When it looks more like this. And where is he at? What, they playing Grand Theft Auto? Call of Duty? But besides that, they want you to do the job of 1 million people. And then they don't want to pay you for it. Look, you're supposed to be getting $12.15 an hour on average to be their maid. You know, that's a 24/7 job. So you're supposed to be getting paper. Lord have mercy. They want you to be their personal chef too. You're supposed to be getting $97,000 a year. You know, they say they want to marry so they can create a family. So basically they want you to have their kids. As a surrogate, you're supposed to be getting anywhere between $30,000 and $46,000 to have one kid. Then they want you to be their mental health specialist, their emotional therapist. You're supposed to be getting anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000 a year for that. And they want you to be their sex worker. Now, if you over the age of 25, you're supposed to be getting about $60,000 a year for that sex worker stuff. If you're under 25, you're supposed to be getting $111,000 a year to be their sex worker. Then after you have the child, they want you to teach the child and be the nanny to the child. So you're supposed to be getting about $25 an hour for that. And not only do you supposed to get about $25 an hour for that, you are supposed to get these benefits. You need a 401k, dental insurance, flexible schedule, health insurance, mileage reimbursement, opportunities for advancement, paid orientation, paid sick time, paid time off, paid training, professional development, tuition reimbursement, retirement plan, and vision insurance. You're supposed to have all of that. But what they want you to do all that for? A cheap ass ring. Because you know a ring is too much. They want to go get you something from Walmart. Because they think you a gold digger if you don't accept a $50 ring as an engagement. You just ungrateful. They just want you to be happy with saying, I'm married, while they work you like a slave. And then don't want to spoil you. Then don't want to give you no love. Baby, women are not pressed about you not wanting to quote unquote marry them. Trust me, they are not. They would rather take trips to Dubai. They would rather the hot girl summer. They would rather be on the beach with black sand, with a mimosa in their hand, listening to a Caribbean band. I promise you, if you read the comments, you'll see the majority of women are saying that. Ciao.
I've really understood that most women, if not all women, have some sort of traumas related to a man. Whether it's their dad, whether it's a past relationship where there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, whatever it may be. So because of that, I understand that the number one thing above everything else, at least in my opinion, that women crave is safety. Like they want to feel safe, protected around a man. And that's why being strong, physically, emotionally, mentally, is reassuring to them, because it's like, yo, if shit hits the fan, I know this man can protect me. I know he can keep me safe. And then once that safety is achieved, then I feel like the walls can come down. There's more vulnerability, there's more openness, right? And that's where the magic happens, because they also crave the ability to surrender completely and be in that divine feminine.
Yo, y'all want to know why most men don't want to get married?
Not really, because there's a lot of y'all that do want to get married. But I can tell you why men probably aren't getting married. And I say this in understanding that monogamous marriage is only one way to exist in loving relationships. But it's because patriarchy is damn near making marriage obsolete. Men have been socialized to feel the need to dominate women by society, by culture, by religion. So not only are men refusing to partner with women who are educated and established, men often don't want to be challenged by their partners. A lot of men miss the good old days where men made the money and women stayed at home and obeyed and took care of the house. But the thing is, that was never real or sustainable. That was the white patriarchal imagination. But many of y'all want to keep that part of white supremacy alive and well, and women just aren't going for it. Also, marriage is often a dangerous institution for women to enter into, because contrary to popular belief, men are sensitive and emotional, but it's often masked with aggression and violence, and women too often bear the brunt of that. So I don't know if it's so much that men don't want to get married. They often can't because they're too married to the patriarchy. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and like and follow for more content.
Just asked my husband to clean up a bug corpse, and he seemed like it annoyed him that I was there. And it's brought me back to a conversation that I was having earlier with a friend and a client of mine. We were talking about why it's important for us to have these businesses that we have so that we can have financial independence, and we both have very similar mates. And so I talked the other day, I posted about how I got this $95,000 salary job, and then within 6 months they fired me, and it was right when I came back. I was coming back from a honeymoon from getting married. And so when I got fired, we had just gotten married, and we had only been married for maybe 3 or 4 months at this point, but we had been together for 2 years prior to this, or 2 or 3 years at that point. And actually, we had been together for 4 years at that point. So naturally, I only get severance for 2 weeks, and I'm telling him that I'm expecting support from him. He's my husband now. He has money. He has a great job. And the first thing I talk about is like, oh, I'm gonna have a hard time paying my bills until I get a job. I don't want to use up all my severance. And he was like, well, how much do you need? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is how many bills I have that I pay in a month. And he was like, yeah, I can't pay that. This is what I can give you. I can give you, what, is $300 enough? And I was like, I felt like I was bartering and bargaining with someone that I expected that if something like this happened for me, he would just cover the bills that I have and the rest of the household bills that he was already paying until I got back on my feet. And this is one of the reasons why I've been so determined in my business to make it successful. And, you know, at this point, I hadn't really started the business. I tried to start a business in 2017. It didn't work out. So in 2019, I started making some money, and I was like, I can make something of this. And that's why in 2020, my business really took off. And one of the only main motivations for me was to make sure that I did not need money from my husband, because so many times he has, in so many ways, kind of thrown it in my face that the only reason, he said this to me, the only reason we have these things, the house and, you know, opportunities and trips and stuff, is because of him. He says it all the time, like, the only reason we have these things is because of me. And I'll be like, who would say that? And he's like, well, it's a fact. And I'm like, it is a fact that you pay the household bills, but I want you to know that I could do this on my own without you. And this year I doubled my salary. I pay myself $10,000 a month for my business now. And I worked hard to make $30,000 a month in my business because I knew that I wanted to show him I can make significantly more than you on my own, and I will never need you to pay for anything else for me ever again.